Manchester City have been under the spotlight for a long time in English football. There is no shadow of a doubt around it. And some of the conversations, looking at the 115 charges, looking at the clubs that may want to sue them, I think there is absolute mileage in having conversations about it, and we have done. Equally, I feel that if they're found innocent, if they win this case, we should be looking into why this has happened, more transparency from the Premier League. And I think we should always be balanced about this. There's no doubt about it whatsoever. But a number of headlines from journalists in the last few days need attention. One, it is stoking tensions between fan bases that do not need to be there. It is already a little bit of a tinderbox, and we'll go into why later. But I do believe the way some journalists are representing Manchester City at the moment is hugely disingenuous. It's ignoring the facts of the situation. And I feel there's an element of scaremongering in this, in my humble opinion. And look, there's been many, many times where I've defended Manchester City when Pep gets called a checkbook manager. They only win because of the money they have. It's only because they've got this, only because of that. When actually, let's put 115 aside for a moment. I know that's there. It's hanging around. It's like a big dark cloud. They're a very well-run football club with an amazing manager who don't just win because of money. It's how well they operate from top to bottom. And you have to defend these things at times. The reason I say it, same reason I defend Liverpool at times, I defend Arsenal at times, is because at some point that methodology will be used against your club, your team. And I just personally want to have, at least in the eyes of my subscribers, the credibility for them to say, well, he did do this for City. He did do this for Arsenal. Now that you see him doing this for Manchester United. And look, I want to put these up on the screen for you. The first thing was from Sam Wallace, who says the tribunal verdict presented as a great victory. The emails to clubs suggest further challenges and costs on the horizon. Man City's strategy clearer than ever, more legal action until they get their way. And what's so intriguing about this claim from Sam Wallace is the fact that on X, formerly known as Twitter, this has now been community noted, and I do love the new community notes, they're very fair and balanced, that talks about how knowingly how much Sam Wallace is misrepresenting this situation, how much this tweet is incorrect, because it's hard to understand why that it is an unreasonable position of City to email the clubs when in recent correspondence the Premier League has agreed. The Premier League has agreed, I will add, with Manchester City that there are no quick fixes to this legal dispute. The Premier League has said this. They're not going to rush the changing of the rules through. They're going to take their time, and they're going to make sure that every element of the rule is lawful. As we know this law is needed. The tribunal has said the base of it, the majority of it is fine, but do not rush through the amendments. Get them right so that you don't end up in this situation again. That is all that's going on here. And the way Manchester City are being kind of portrayed here, there are other stories that from Sam Wallace that Man City may frame this as a victory, but the key rule stopping owners from inflating sponsorship deals to disguise equity as revenue survives. And look, we know the rule survives. City have stated they know the rule is going to survive. They're celebrating the victory because it's about elements of the rule being wrong as opposed to wanting to get rid of all of it. We were lied to by the mainstream media. City have not pushed in any point as far as we can see. And if I'm wrong on this, show me the document. I did a video about City a few weeks ago and said, these are new leaks. I haven't seen these before. But if I'm wrong and they have been out there, someone send me the links, and people politely did. I changed my stance. I don't know everything. I never claimed to. So again, if you can find me the documentation where City are trying to get rid of all these rules, because that isn't what I've read or how I've interpreted it, fine. But the volume of lies being spouted about Manchester City in this particular situation is wrong. On top of this, a growing number of teams are now supporting City's bid to have current associated party transaction rules declared illegal following a ruling by the independent tribunal that the current framework does not meet with UK competition laws. And look at the end part. framework. They are not stating they want the rules completely abolished. They want the framework to be lawful. For there to be more open-mindedness to these sponsorship deals, more open-mindedness to what they can bring in from external companies, even if there's associated parties. Nobody is looking to sponsor Manchester City's grass £1 billion a month, £1 billion a year, £1 billion in entire. No one's looking to do that. They understand there is still going to be checks and balances in place. But this is a false witch hunt claim to create further problems, in my opinion, that don't need to be pushed between the clubs. Again, I look at this very much the same as the red cartel nonsense. I don't believe there's a red cartel. I don't believe there's a traditional top five that are trying to ruin City. I also don't believe that City are trying to get rid of all these rules. I think all of that is a conspiracy theory and essentially nonsense. But all of this is upon the backdrop of what could cause genuine problems between clubs in the coming weeks and months. Because Manchester City's rivals, a clear route to FFP claims as a 6-year ruling looms. It says Manchester United and other Premier League clubs have until next month to decide whether they want to potentially sue Manchester City for damages, but only in the event that they are found guilty. It says that Manchester City could receive legal notices from Manchester United. What's really weird about them mentioning Man United by name is there is no indication that Man United are going to sue. There's no indication that anybody who is going to sue. The story is just very much, in a month's time, clubs have essentially got to present themselves as, we will want to sue if City are found guilty in these particular areas. But no one club has stated anything at this point. It says the prospect comes in the midst of possibly that they are judged guilty amid the ongoing high-profile FFP case being held in London. City are alleged to have breached the Premier League's financial rules between 2009 and 2018. However, it must be stressed that the champions strongly deny this claim. But again, more tensions being stoked. And I understand that some clubs, some Premier League clubs, some that are now no longer Premier League clubs, may look to seek damages against Manchester City if they are found guilty. And remember, in the eyes of the law, they only have to lose one of their 115 or 130, some people are saying, cases to be found guilty. Depending upon the severity of that and the impact that the tribunal has, some clubs may look to seek damages in the same way that Manchester City look as though they're going to seek damages against the Premier League after beating them in their tribunal. So all of that makes sense, but they're throwing Man United's name into this to try and stoke up the red cartel element. They're going to throw Liverpool's name in soon. They'll probably throw Arsenal's name in there as well. But there's no indication those clubs are doing anything. So at one moment, they're sort of trying to make it look like the newspapers are trying to make it like United, Liverpool, Chelsea, whoever are going to go for City, go for the juggler, try and ruin them. On the other side of things, they're making it seem like City are trying to destroy the league anyway and rip out all the rules so they can just spend whatever they want. And I just believe there's a bit of a witch hunt going on here. There's a little bit of stirring the pot. As I've stated all along, if City are innocent, I'll say they're innocent. If they're guilty, I will condemn them. I don't understand why this is such a hard logic for people. Yes, it is true that City may get sued if they are guilty, and clubs will have to announce they're going to do that ahead of time. And that's what's really difficult about this, and the media are probably rubbing their hands together. City may end up finding out who the clubs are that are going to potentially sue them, even when they haven't been found guilty. But the difficulty for the clubs is, you would ideally like to wait until the verdict was out, right? But they're going to have to do it ahead of time. It's crazy. It's a crazy situation. For a layman on the outside, it is a crazy situation. But when it comes to this stuff over the associated party transactions, I think this is shameless from the media to lie about Manchester City in this way. I would defend it if it was my club. I would defend it if it was any other top six club. And I do believe at this particular juncture, Man City deserve protecting on this. They deserve to have fans. Even if you don't like them as a club, this is where you should drop your pettiness, drop your tribalism and say, this isn't right. Because I believe this is, slippery slope time. Well, let City get lied about. All that confirms is in the future, your club is going to be lied about and no one's going to do anything about it. And I personally think that's wrong. As ever, hit the like button and subscribe. Leave your comments for us below. But for me, this absolutely stinks.